Welcome to Birthwords. This is episode number 54. Today you get to hear an interview with Kristy Burtenshaw, who is both a licensed massage therapist and a birth doula. And Kristy will talk to us a bit about fascia and our words.
Welcome to Birthwords. Words are powerful. What are you doing with yours? In this podcast, birth doula and applied linguistics scholar Sarah Pixton invites you to be intentional, reflective, and empowering with your language as we come together to honor those who give birth. The work of Birthwords is to elevate the language surrounding pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum period. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as medical advice.
Kristy Burtenshaw began her health journey as an injured dancer, spending years of her life seeking relief from injuries and poor habits. Along that path, she was led to massage therapy, and then into fascial work. It was a revelation that birth is just a fascial response. Well, mostly. When this came into her research, she dove into the discovery of the unmedicated birth world and how it could serve her. Now she continues to research how it can serve couples who, like her family, seek empowerment and education to prepare for their own birth story. All right, welcome, Kristy, to the Birthwords podcast.
Thank you.
I'm excited to get to know you, for our listeners to get to know you, and for you to tell us a little more about the things that you're familiar with and how it affects the way that you view and talk about birth. So, my first question for you is, how did you come into birth work?
When I became a massage therapist, during one of the last training courses, I learned about fascia. And when I found out that fascia is just the connective tissue around your muscles, it kind of dawned on me that it would be related to birth. But it wasn't really on my radar. And then when we got pregnant with our third child, I started to really think about it and go, wait a second, this is just fascia. So I'd have my husband do fascial work to release the connective tissue on my legs to help me practice yielding my fascia. And when we had the birth, he's trained as well. He's a massage therapist and a kinesiologic programmer. So he's my doula.
Nice.
And he's pretty fantastic as a doula. He loves teaching dads how to doula when they're a little bit afraid to have someone else come in. And it's interesting because he would get me to release. And before, in my mind, I think fascia was only going to hold things and let things go. I didn't realize how emotional it was. And during this process, I'd heard the fascia is the largest organ to transport emotion, but during the birth, I really realized how true that was. And so he had to help calm my fears and my worries. My rushes, my contractions they piggyback because I deal with hyperemesis gravidarum. So I'm really dehydrated. So my contractions are 8 to 30 minutes long.
Wow.
And it takes a lot of focus to yield and release and trust and hope and trust him, trust my doula to sit there and be like, no, it really is okay. You really are doing this. Just remember to relax your head and neck and your shoulders. And he would go through and make sure that I was relaxing every part of my body. And I didn't really think about doing birth work after that first birth. The second birth, I got more serious about researching even more doula things that he could do. I'm like, hey, look at this rebozo thing. It's great. And look at this Bangkok binding. This is so neat. And so I learned all these cool other tools and I taught them to him. And I was like, wait, I could do this. I could help people. And I started helping with births. And when I would go to the hospital for certain births, I was deeply discouraged at how I was raised with Western medicine training, and I could see it. They're not trained to believe that women know how to have babies. And out of the goodness of their hearts, medical practitioners in a hospital are trying to reduce pain. But they don't realize the body will actually create its own pain medication if you give it the right tools. We all know this. We call it the placebo effect. It's been proven for a century. But they don't know that for some reason. And so I see a lot of interventions that don't need to happen. And that really started to push me toward helping women be informed. Even if they decided to do a birthing method that was different than mine, it's better for them to be informed so they can make a choice based upon how they feel and their intuition and their decisions with their spouse, rather than just going in blind. So it's kind of why I went that direction.
Cool. I like how you came to be a doula because you first designed your own doula. That's really cool.
Right. So true.
Okay. So for anybody who's listening who has never heard of fascia before, can you describe, you've mentioned it's the connective tissue, but give us a little more detail.
So if you look at your body like in a CT scan, a digital version of your body, if you have one muscle fiber, it has kind of a loose connective tissue all the way from the top to bottom. And then if you look just out a little bit more, there's a group of those muscle fibers, and they're covered by a sheath. And then several of these clumps are covered by another sheath. And then several of these clumps are covered by another sheath. And then the whole muscle is covered by a connective sheath. And then the group of muscles is covered by it. And now you're looking at this, just going out from just to that one spot of the body. But it's kind of like a never-ending web. So it starts at your belly button. That is the start and the end. And it just goes up and down the body, in and out, around organs, around bones. So if you had a muscle, well, you do, obviously. But the muscle, all that connective tissue goes toward the bone, and then it changes direction and turns into a tendon. And then it goes around the bone joint and becomes a joint capsule. It's all the same stuff. We call it periosteum, pericardium, fascia, dura mater, all of these things. Even myelin is a connective fascial tissue. And we know, myelin goes around our nerves. So now you have all of this emotionally connected tissue, holds your body up, holds your emotions. And birth is one of the most emotional situations because women get to let go and cry. They get to step into their power. I can't tell you how empowering it is. One, right after, during a birth, you're just in this zone focusing, and you're just letting your fascia let go. Because there's a muscle there, that muscle is going to get thin at the bottom and it's going to shift around to the top. But that hole, that is where the fascia change is. It has to yield and get bigger, and that hole has to get bigger, but it's designed to, and then it's designed to go right back. It's brilliant. Your body's just so cool. And now you have, the baby being born because your body just lets it happen. And so you step into this space of complete surrender, and then you have this huge oxytocin burst, and then you have, your baby nursing. You feel amazing for 2 days, and then you feel like you got hit by a truck. It's just part of birth, right? It's a good workout. But that's the part of fascia that's so important. But what we've found, Ina May talks about this. Whatever your mouth is doing, whether it's like is what your cervix is doing. Whatever your shoulders are doing, your hips are doing. So you've got to release the fascia in the upper body to release the fascia around birth, because it's all connected. And you're sending signals to your body. I'm safe. You're safe. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Cool. I love it. I just didn't want to jump in if you had more. That's cool. That's really, really interesting. I love to hear cool perspective. Okay. So this is birth words. So we're going to talk about how our words play into all this that you've just been telling us about. So how can we use our words to create an environment that facilitates the fascial release that we need to give birth?
Well, what are words that make us feel safe? When you get into situations with a birth worker who does not trust the body, they're going to use words like push They're going to use words like hard work together. But if you want to get into words that would get your fascia to yield, you'd go relax, yield, trust, breathe, let go, shake it out, loosen your mouth, let's lip buzz. So a lot of the words are instructive. They're very instructive, meaning the mother can do something. I don't know about you, but I'm a woman and you're a woman, and we may have some control issues being women. So they can do something you can control. That cut out. I don't know what you said.
Oh, I said you're pointing fingers.
I am. I'm pointing fingers right back at me. I am controlling. And women like to have some type of control. And yet this is a situation where we have to let go. And if you do not let go, it actually increases risk. So what do you want to do? You want to use actions that reduce risk. Well, what reduces risk? Letting go. So you can focus on just releasing your muscles or relaxing your neck. That is something that you can do. And when you feel like you can do something, you feel like you're in charge of the situation, even though you really are letting your body do it. Your body's so smart, but our desire to do something, and we've been taught for, over 100 years that we've got to do something for birth. So it's very ingrained. We need to shift that with our words.
Ooh, I like what you were just saying about like how we can feel like we have an element of control by focusing on something that we can't have because I'm a control freak. Like I don't let anybody grocery shop for me. Okay, moving on. But
it's true.
Right.
It's womanhood.
You want to feel like I am doing something. And as you were talking about, those words about relaxing, releasing, letting go, giving in. I was thinking about how in some situations for some people with like abusive pasts or situations of where they don't have a relationship of trust with their body, that those can be really difficult things to hear.
They're very difficult, which is one of the reasons why when my clients come in, I actually do fascial work on them before the birth. And we do trauma release. We do release work. We do trauma release because your fascia holds so much of that emotion. Yeah. You're either going to have it come, and I've talked to so many birth workers who they're trying to be more tactful than I am. I'm pretty straightforward, but not everyone is. And they tell me that they see the same thing I do. Either it's going to come out before the birth with therapy, or it's going to come out of the birth, but it will come out. And that trauma can create some serious complications if you don't deal with it. And I had one VBAC that was 3 days long, and once we figured out what the trauma was, we did trauma release, and then we were able to have the baby. But 1 hour of sleep, I'm amazed at my body.
Yeah. I like how you're talking about just like this pairing that you're doing this physical work and this emotional work with your language, and it's not an isolated thing, right? Like you're working on all aspects of this.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's important that people get together with their doula and actually practice what words they're going to use.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're going to use these fascial words, to practice using them, because they may have a set of words that's very triggering emotionally. And I've seen, moms get really, really angry, but not want to say anything because of polite behaviors. Yeah. And that's not healthy to birth. You need to be able to tell someone, okay, that we need to change topics. You need to be able to say that at your birth. Be like, this is not helping. Can you focus on me again?
Yeah. Cool. I love it all. I love your thoughts, your perspective. Cool.
Thank you.
So, if you could choose just one word to summarize your feelings about this whole topic about pregnancy and birth and your perspective on it, the role that you play as a support person, everything, if you had to wrap it all into one word, what word would it be?
I've thought long and hard about this question.
There's always a really long pause after I ask that question.
Empowered is the closest word in the English language. The word that I am thinking of only exists in a feeling.
Mm.
It is euphoric.
Mm-hmm.
It is personal accountability of a birth.
Mm-hmm.
The most important work that I do before a birth is before it. If I can't have my family that I've helped be completely prepared to have a baby, even if I don't make it in time, which has never happened, then I've not done my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there to pay attention to sounds, to pay attention to sights, to make sure everything is going smoothly. But if I haven't taught them how to have a baby without me, I haven't done my job.
Cool. I like it. If our listeners want to connect with you on social media or website, online, whatever, how can they do that?
I've got a website that has everything on it, contact information. So it's www.dancecore, that's D as in doll, ANCE, CORE as in Edward, .US. Apparently, everyone would think Dance Corp with a P. It's not a P, it's an E. I did not realize this would be a problem.
That's funny.
So yeah, dancecore.us.
Cool. Thanks so much for coming to be on the podcast today.
It was a delight. Thank you for asking questions. It's really fun to talk with birth workers.
It's one of my favorite things.
Thank you, Sarah.
If you're interested in sharing your ideas or experiences on the podcast, go to birthwords.com. If you're liking what you hear, please leave a review on your podcast app. For more resources about language for a better birth, subscribe to the monthly newsletter at birthwords.com and follow Birthwords on Instagram and Facebook.